Hey guys, I've been doing some thinking, and this video is one where I want to talk about the relationship that God has in Christianity with Christians. Uh, I want to compare that to the relationship that a slave owner has with his or her slave. Um, and for some of you, this is going to sound like I'm just pulling at straws, like, what else can I say that's bad about God or something like that. But it's actually interesting when you examine several points that are, like similarities between the two. And that's what I've done. So I'd like to read these off. God's relationship to us is much like a slave owner. He owns us from cradle to grave. True. You know, from birth or prior to birth or, whatever. I was told when I was in church that God was thinking about me when he was still on earth in the form of Jesus. Like, that was the whole thing. He loves us that much deal. Um, but he owns us from cradle to grave, all of our existence, and even after the grave, which is infinitely more so. He bought us for a price long before we were old enough to understand what was happening. And in the analogy of slaves, obviously they have no idea what's going on, or they're bought as children, or they're born into that system. So um, you can't pay it back, really, because it kind of extends beyond your existence. So I drew a similarity there. Um, this is a big one. His right to own us is greater than our rights to live. When I talk to a lot of Christians and I say, for example, all the Pharaoh's men, when Moses was escaping Egypt, all the Pharaoh's men drowned when the Red Sea closed up, because Moses part of the Red Sea. They escape. The Egyptian soldiers come in and they all drown. Okay, how could God do that and still be good? Those were innocent people just following orders. And it's the common response I get is that God owns those people. From cradle to grave, He owns who they are. Without Him, they wouldn't have existed in the first place. So He can do whatever He wants. I think that's sick, personally. I think it's. I mean, obviously, I'm drawing a comparison between slave owners and slaves and God and people. So I'm obviously not in high opinion of having someone's right to own you be greater than your own right to live. Um, so there's that. And then the last point I have is if we get in a disagreement, or if we don't understand something about the character or nature of God, then it is we who are at fault, not God. And this I see with my analogy. There's no way that a slave would be able to, bring justice to himself or his friends or whatever, because really the only person who has power in that relationship is the God figure, is the um, plantation owner, or whichever character you want. But it really is a a completely one-sided stance, because, like, yeah, it's literally like being owned as a slave. It's just reworded and brought into the modern era ish, you know. Um, but it's you can almost even see it in how people act sometimes. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some wonderful Christians out there, um, but there's just a way about some people that you can tell that they don't even think for themselves. They don't even they wouldn't even trust that to themselves, because they're so under this idea that they can't even have thoughts independent of God. That even God gives them their individuality instead of them being individual from God. It's just I mean, for me it's kind of sad to see, but whatever, people are living their lives. So there's that. But yeah, I just wanted to point out there are some similarities, and there's probably more. I just haven't come up with them or thought of them yet, between God's relationship with people in Christianity uh, and the way a slave owner lives and operates above his slaves. So I don't know, maybe it's just something to think about. It was just interesting to me that I was noticing these like layers and layers of like slave holding. So yeah, just check it out. Think about it.